Some people move through life carrying a quiet contradiction inside them. They want to be seen. They want to be appreciated. They want to feel chosen, valued, and important in the lives of others. And yet, at the same time, they are deeply afraid of what might happen if they reach for that connection. They crave validation, but they fear rejection. If this sounds familiar, you are not weak. You are not broken. You are responding to emotional experiences that taught you, very early on, that love and approval were never guaranteed. For many people who struggle with this pattern, validation does not feel like a luxury. It feels like emotional oxygen. Without it, something inside begins to suffocate. Self-doubt grows louder. Anxiety tightens its grip. The mind starts scanning for signs of disapproval, distance, or disappointment. Yet, the same people who long for reassurance often hesitate to ask for it. They worry that needing anything will make them seem needy. They worry that expressing feelings will push people away. They worry that showing their true selves will lead to abandonment. So they stay quiet. They overthink. They pretend they're fine. And inside, they ache. This pattern often begins long before adulthood. Many people who crave validation but fear rejection grew up in environments where emotional safety was inconsistent. Maybe praise came only when they performed well. Maybe affection depended on being easy or successful or useful. Maybe mistakes were met with criticism instead of comfort. In those early years, the nervous system learned a subtle lesson. Love is conditional. You are valued when you do things right. You are tolerated when you don't cause problems. You are noticed when you meet expectations. Over time, this becomes internalized. You begin to believe that your worth must be earned. As a child, you adapt. You become observant. You learn to read moods. You learn what makes others happy and what disappoints them. You adjust yourself accordingly. You become emotionally intelligent, empathetic, and perceptive. But you also become hyper-aware of rejection. Every raised eyebrow, every delayed reply, every change in tone. Your mind learns to interpret these as danger signals. In adulthood, this shows up in subtle, exhausting ways. You may constantly seek reassurance, but feel ashamed for wanting it. You may post something online and anxiously check for reactions. You may replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said something wrong. You may feel deeply affected by criticism, even when it's mild. At the same time, you hesitate to fully express yourself. You hold back opinions. You soften your needs. You minimize your emotions. You apologize too much. You become skilled at being likable, but not always at being real. In relationships, this pattern becomes especially intense. You may fall deeply and quickly. You may invest more than you receive. You may become highly sensitive to emotional distance. When someone pulls away, even slightly, it can feel devastating. Your body reacts as if abandonment is imminent. Your thoughts spiral. Did I do something wrong? Am I too much? Are they losing interest? Should I try harder? So you try. You become more accommodating, more available, more understanding, more forgiving, sometimes at the expense of your own boundaries. You might tolerate inconsistency. You might excuse disrespect. You might stay longer than is healthy. Not because you don't see the problems, but because rejection feels worse than unhappiness. There is often a deep belief underneath all of this. If I am rejected, it means something is wrong with me. So rejection is not just about losing someone. It feels like losing your value. Because of this, many people with this pattern become emotionally vigilant. They are always scanning their environment for cues about how they are being perceived. They notice when someone's energy changes. They sense when attention fades. They feel when enthusiasm drops. And they internalize it. I'm boring. I'm annoying. I'm not enough. This constant self-monitoring is exhausting. It keeps the nervous system in a low-level state of stress. It prevents true relaxation. It makes connection feel risky instead of nourishing. Ironically, the fear of rejection can sometimes create the very outcomes it is trying to avoid. When you are afraid of being abandoned, you may become overly pleasing. When you are afraid of being disliked, you may hide parts of yourself. When you are afraid of conflict, you may suppress resentment. Over time, this creates imbalance. Others may sense that you are not fully present. They may feel that you are not showing your real self. They may take your flexibility for granted. And you, meanwhile, may feel unseen, unappreciated, and quietly hurt. This pattern is not about weakness. It is about survival. At some point in your life, needing people felt dangerous. Expressing yourself felt risky. Being authentic felt unsafe. So you learned to protect yourself by being agreeable. You learned to protect yourself by being useful. You learned to protect yourself by being emotionally low maintenance. And it worked. It helped you belong. It helped you avoid conflict. It helped you feel accepted. But it came at a cost. The cost was learning to measure your worth through other people's reactions. When validation becomes your main source of self-esteem, your emotional stability depends on things you cannot control. Someone's mood, someone's availability, someone's preferences, someone's capacity. No matter how kind, loving, or present you are, these things will always fluctuate. So your sense of safety fluctuates too. One day you feel valued. The next day you feel invisible. This emotional instability can lead to anxiety, depression, people-pleasing, and chronic self-doubt. You may feel confident when praised and empty when ignored. You may feel secure when included and worthless when excluded. Your self-image becomes fragile. Yet beneath all of this is something deeply beautiful. People who crave validation but fear rejection are often incredibly caring. They notice others' needs. They listen deeply. They remember details. They show up. They love sincerely. They feel intensely. They want to matter. They want to connect. They want to be meaningful in the lives of others. These are not flaws. They are strengths that developed in an unsafe emotional environment. The work now is not to eliminate your sensitivity. It is to redirect it inward. Healing begins when you start offering yourself the validation you have been seeking outside. When you learn to say, "My feelings are valid even if no one else sees them. My needs matter even if they inconvenience others. My worth is not negotiable." This is not easy. At first, it feels unnatural. It feels selfish. It feels uncomfortable. Because you were taught that love comes from being acceptable, not from being authentic. But slowly, with practice, something shifts. You begin to notice when you are shrinking yourself. You begin to catch yourself apologizing unnecessarily. You begin to recognize when you are abandoning your own needs. And instead of criticizing yourself, you pause. You ask, what am I afraid will happen if I speak honestly? What part of me is trying to stay safe right now? What do I actually need in this moment? This creates self-trust. And self-trust is the antidote to validation addiction. When you trust yourself, rejection becomes painful, but not devastating. It hurts. It stings. It disappoints, but it no longer defines you. You begin to understand that rejection is not always about your worth. Sometimes it is about timing. Sometimes it is about compatibility. Sometimes it is about other people's limitations. Not every no is a judgment. Not every distance is a failure. Not every ending is a reflection of your value. As you grow, you also learn to choose relationships differently. You stop chasing people who are emotionally unavailable. You stop over-investing in those who undergive. You stop proving yourself to those who never truly see you. You begin to gravitate toward people who feel safe, people who are consistent, people who communicate clearly, people who don't make you beg for reassurance. With them, you can breathe. You can be imperfect. You can be quiet. You can be honest. And you are still loved. Most importantly, you begin to become that person for yourself. You learn to sit with discomfort. You learn to soothe your own anxiety. You learn to comfort your inner child. You learn that needing reassurance does not make you weak. It makes you human. And learning to give that reassurance to yourself is an act of profound courage. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, know this: you are not too much. You are not needy. You are not flawed. You adapted to survive. And now You are learning to thrive. You are learning that love does not have to be earned. You are learning that your presence is enough. You are learning that you deserve connection without self-erasure. This journey takes time. There will be moments when you fall back into old habits, moments when you seek external approval, moments when rejection feels unbearable. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Each time you choose honesty over fear, each time you honor your needs, each time you stay rooted in your worth, you are healing. Slowly, gently, permanently. And one day you will realize that you no longer chase validation. You attract connection because you finally learn to believe, I am worthy, even when no one is watching, even when no one is applauding, even when I am simply being myself. And that is where real freedom begins.